John, I think we were going to talk about Morris and kind of how that all plays out. On the one hand, I really do like Hayward and Brown coming off the bench. And I like Brown's aggressiveness, and I think it's helping build this confidence. So let's say this: if you are going to demote Morris, because long term that's what the team is going to end up having to live with, and so you want to promote, you can only promote one of those dudes, man. Which one? Which one are you promoting to the starting lineup?
I no, yeah, I think the issue is rebounding, man. Like I think that's the biggest bugaboo right now in the Celtics roster is rebounding. Morris is the one guy that you trust to get those boards. But I think at the end of games, I think Tatum can get those boards, right? If he can be there, you feel much better about the Celtics' chances. But I think in the long run, I would probably keep the lineup as is because I think Morris will be easier to move to the bench when you put Baines in and slide Horford over against those big man lineups. But I think if I'm promoting one of those young guys or someone on the bench, I think it's Hayward, actually. I think Hayward has just been phenomenal on all sides of it. Passing, shooting, rebounding. He's not yet there in terms of the explosion at the basket. I think we saw against the Nets, they were prepared for it and game planning him to know that he was not going to be able to shoot or make an awkward pass. They're playing or an awkward shot and playing him to pass. But to me, Hayward, I think, is ready to make that step pretty soon of going and becoming the starter. If anybody on that bench, I think he's the one that's most ready to step into that spot.
It makes sense too, because even though the playmaking aspect is really nice on that second unit, so is Jaylen Brown's aggressiveness to the hole. And I think Jaylen would really benefit from being able to be more ball dominant on offense. I mean, we always see the effort, not always the proper decision making or quite the anticipation on defense, but definitely a strong defensive committed player. And when he's in the groove and when he's doing it, he can be one of the top defenders in the league for that given night. But offensively, this is a guy that if he was on another team would be in the starting lineup, would likely get a lot of touches and really be able to sort of be ball dominant and explore that aspect of his game. I think it also would encourage him to become that playmaker. So if you take Hayward out and you put him in the starting lineup, what we've seen from Brown, he's only going to be asked to do more in that second unit, especially if they're going to let him be ball dominant and try to create shots for himself. I think long term, that's actually the best thing for Jaylen Brown. And I think he could buy into it too. I think if positioned properly, he could ride that storm even into next season after Morris is most likely gone and not re-signed. Brown would still be willing to accept that role because it's the best position for him to grow his game. And if it winds up that the Celtics can't, re-sign him, they can't do whatever, he's going to have a chance to really showcase his talents instead of getting lost amongst all of the very prime talent in that starting lineup. So, and I also think that Hayward's more than willing to take a step back offensively. And I think that Kyrie at times is going to want to go ahead and say, hey, Gordon, go get those 36 again for me. I can't shoulder the load tonight. I just think the balance is better.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Hayward has to continue to be aggressive consistently, and I think that's the next step in his progression. But Jalen's growth, like you said, finding an incubator from that is really important for the Celtics. And we're doing this assuming there isn't some sort of wild, crazy trade that takes it brings Anthony Davis to town. So aside from that, what's the best step forward? And you're right. I think you build an opportunity for Jalen to create, to do more with the ball, to create more of those opportunities and create shots for himself. That's where his offense is going to grow from. He can do the stands up, spot up jumpers, and that's wild. That's very important. But him to be able to create his own offense, to play make a little bit, to create shots for others through his incredible athleticism
Or
is
even just working
great.
this baseline fadeaway jumper and how he creates distance from the defender to get his shot off and build that confidence.